Hi there, I'm Linda and this is Hutton's Valley Permaculture. Today we're back in the kitchen garden. We last had a look around here in early summer. It's now the start of autumn, and while we are going to check on a few of the plants, today we're mostly going to focus on some of the maintenance tasks that need to be done. The main area I'd like to focus on today is this area here, which needs a really good chop and drop. This is the area around my gooseberries that we did some maintenance work on in summer, but I'm just going to chop some of these plants down and ensure these gooseberry plants continue to have access to space and light. I did prune a little bit of my boysenberry vine, but they are a very vigorous plant. So I do need to do quite a bit of trimming once again. This is a beautiful lemon myrtle plant, which is getting a little buried underneath the boysenberry. So I'm going to give it a really good trim so that that is free of the weight of that vine. Also on the chop and drop list is this area of my former raspberry patch, which certainly needs a bit of a trim. But before we do all that, I just wanted to show you a few of the plants and how they're going. To start with, we're looking at the little orange tree that's my ruby memorial. Now, back at the start of summer, this little tree was really struggling. You can see there's still some little yellow leaves on it, but there was no growth whatsoever. And I wasn't really sure what to do. One of my lovely viewers suggested that this plant was in need of magic elixir. Now, magic elixir turns out to be something we all have and we often waste. What she suggested was to dilute urine 1 in 10 with water and water this little tree. Now, what happened was amazing. It actually started growing. This is all new growth here, and it's really turned around actually. Most of the flowers next to the little orange tree were blooming, except for this beautiful white hollyhock that has since come out. But all of the plants have really taken off with the extra nitrogen that was in this magic elixir. Right next to my orange tree, I've got my crisp pink apple tree, and the fruit is just about ripe. I have eaten some, but I think it could probably sweeten up a little bit more. Now I've got this netting on because there's plenty of birds in the area that would enjoy these apples, and they have managed to get all the apples that are down on my swale. So I've just been looking after this tree because it is nice to get yourself a harvest. Now the apples are looking pretty good, although they do have some funny little spots on them, some little warty spots and some little scab marks. I don't know if that's codling moth or what. Perhaps you could give me your suggestions as to what you think it is, but I will be having to do some homework and see what I need to do to get these apples looking a lot healthier. I think it'll be maybe a couple more weeks before I harvest all of these apples and remove the netting. I'll just have to be a little bit careful with the top where it's sort of poking through. Just here, which I showed you in my last video, is my John Gold tree. But what I don't think I showed you is this little tree that is grown by itself just below it. Now, what I plan to do with this is actually graft a different apple tree onto it. There's an apple tree up on my rail trail which produces beautiful apples. But now they developed the rail trail, it gets poisoned. And I don't want to eat the apples from it, but I do want to grow the apples. So I think late winter I might try grafting from that tree onto this little tree and then maybe move it to my swale. In my last video we harvested lots of blueberries from my blueberry bushes, but they're finished now. But I am currently getting a few raspberries to enjoy. And I'm still managing to pick a few strawberries as well. So first up, we're going to tackle this area here. I'll trim my lemon balm and use all of that as a mulch. And I'm going to trim up all of these Swiss chard plants, which have definitely finished seeding. There's lots of seeds on the plants, which I'll spread around. And we're going to give it a good mulching, a bit of a water, and hopefully a lot of those seeds will germinate and start to grow for winter harvesting. I put a lot of organic material on the soil surface in this area, but as you can see, the soil's right there, and the organic matter breaks down fairly quickly. So regular mulching with the material that it's grown in place is quick and easy and really benefits the whole system. So I'm just going to start with moving some of these plants out, chopping them up, and then getting them back onto this garden. While I do this, I am very mindful of some of the little plants that you come across. That looks like a parsley plant, so I'll try and let that remain. I don't mind adding a bit of this into my winter omelettes along with the Swiss chard, but I'll be just cutting it off at the root at the moment, and it's sure to grow back. Also in this garden are some kale plants, so I'll try to preserve those and just work around them. Might mulch them straight away so that they're kind of looked after and done. Now this is a fennel plant and it's got lots of seeds on it. I'm not gathering any of the seeds today because I've already got a lot from the front garden. So I'm just going to drop them in place here. Again, the birds will enjoy what they want. And the fennel seeds, it won't overtake this garden. There's lots of the Swiss chard as you've seen, but there's also plants like yarrow and comfrey in here, and the lemon balm and the oregano, and they're all competing for the same area. So it kind of keeps one plant in check. It works out that nothing really takes over. Now this plant here with lots of fresh lovely leaves on it is actually growing from over here, so I'll just be careful to leave that one in place. It's a really good opportunity to get in here and harvest some of this beautiful oregano. I use a lot of dried oregano in my preserving recipes at this time of year, so I'll dry this lot and be ready for preserving for next year. With the weather still warm, I can hang this up and dry it outside before crumbling it up and storing it in an airtight jar. Now, while I am out clearing these gardens, I am always on the lookout for resources that you can save. These here are seeds of a continental parsley or flatleaf parsley, and I'm going to save those seeds because I don't have too many and I don't have enough plants around the place. I will sprinkle some seeds sort of in this area here where I've grown it before, but I might also save some for next year and also just sprinkle a few around my front vegetable garden. Now there's a lot of trimmings here, so in addition to collecting seeds, I'm also just going to collect some of these plants that will make great chicken feed and ship those off to the chickens. I think Ray and the girls should enjoy this. So all that's left to do now is just get all of this material that I've moved out of the garden back onto the garden and give it a bit of a chop so it's laying down close to the soil surface. Now I move it all off the garden first, just so I can identify any of the plants that we want to save, and I'm a bit more mindful when moving all the vegetation back on and chopping it up, that I'm not destroying any of those. And all these seeds will be eaten or germinate for lovely plants in winter. All right, we're all finished here now. All I'll need to do is keep this well watered. We've had a pretty dry summer, so the ground is in need of moisture, and that will help germinate all the seeds. Okay, next on the agenda is freeing up this tree from the vine, which won't take too much effort. I will be giving this a real haircut once it loses its leaves in winter, but for the moment I'll just contain some of its growth and give this tree a little space. This is a nasty, really prickly plant and not much fun to deal with. You can actually see it now. So now to clear our 3 gooseberries, but as I've just discovered, there's 2 gooseberries. It's been a very dry summer and I haven't watered this area at all. And this little one down the end here had dried out completely. And while I was clearing the area, I did stand on it and it snapped off. So it was definitely dead. So we're left with these 2 gooseberries, which still have their leaves and look pretty good still. Now I'll leave that because that's a borage plant, but I'll just cut out some of these weedy plants. Now this is an evening primrose, so I'll leave that. These grasses I'll just pull right out though. This borage is sort of at finish, so I'll chop that off. I'll trim up some of the evening primrose. And I will just pull these grasses. No seeds on them yet, so I'll just leave that as the mulch. Okay, those 2 gooseberries have been weeded and mulched with those weeds. A little visitor in my pond. You're not eating my fish, are you? Watch out, fish. I haven't come across a snake in my pond before. Isn't he beautiful? I was actually heading to do a chop and drop in that section there. It should have plenty of lettuce seeds in there, and if I can get those plants chopped into the ground, it should also grow some calendula. But given this little fella's here, I might finish up for the day and wait for another day when there's no snakes around. Because he's going to head straight where I want it to be. Oh, don't come this way, mate. Don't come this way. There it is. There it is up here. Ooh. All right, it's in there. You would never even guess there was a snake in there somewhere. Okay, given that little snake has stopped me for the day, that's all I'm going to do. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Thanks so much for watching, and bye for now.